Thank you, Amy. So we're going to go ahead and we'll start with moment to arrive. If we could just take a second. Thank you. Oh. Oh, this is great. Welcome, Tom. Amy, can we show for the record that Tom has arrived?
Duly noted.
Thank you. Yes, quorum has been established, so we can move on with our regular agenda. Next, I want to take this very important meeting to recognize the service of Rebecca. She works for the Florida Department of Health in Broward County, and unfortunately, she's retiring. And when Cindy told me this, I was stunned because she just looks way too young for retirement. And Rebecca, just a few words from myself. We haven't worked together a whole lot, but the times that we have been able to, I just truly appreciate your expertise, your kindness, your professionalism, and you will truly be missed. And I know I'm not the only one that feels this way, so I'm going to allow some other folks to say some things. And do you want to start off, Paula?
So yes, Rebecca is retiring, and the good news is that she has a wonderful new grandson. And, that's such wonderful news after Rebecca has spent her whole career serving children and making sure that children have access to health care. You could not meet a more dedicated person, nights, weekends, whatever event that was being held, whatever, unfortunately, business was having layoffs. Rebecca and her team responded, provided information, applications, technical assistance with people for people to be able to apply for kid care. Um, you know, provided, I can't talk about the countless number of children that she has helped. Her hotline at one point was answering kid care assistance calls from throughout the whole state of Florida, because really Broward for a very long time has had the only kid care outreach program in the whole state, because of Rebecca's dedication and because of the vision of the council to fund that program. She is absolutely irreplaceable. I don't know how we're going to find her successor. It certainly won't be her replacement, but there's just not enough words to, thank Rebecca for everything that she has done for this community and particularly for the children.
Thanks, Paula. I agree. And for those professionals out there that just needed a little bit more information and her knowledge as well. Cindy.
Yeah, Paula said a lot of what I was going to say, so I'll focus a little bit on the personal, because Rebecca was one of the first people I met in Broward County. She taught me so much about kid care, and I love the pictures that Andrew chose because they really capture the joyous spirit and loving heart of this incredible public servant. We have funded this. It was one of the first things that we did from, actually, in the year we were created, there was an opportunity to draw down TANF funds that were left over, and we created an opportunity to to use matching funds, and they would give a 9-to-1 match, and we would do this outreach. And it was one of those confluence of events. It was right after we were created. Nan Rich was in the legislature, and she called and said, "This is why we were created. This is why you were created, why I fought for this. So there's this 9-to-1 match opportunity. Figure out how to make it happen." And so I called, and it wasn't for kid care, it was for TANF recipients. And I called Mason Jackson. I said, "What can we do? What if we use TANF recipients and help them be the grassroots people to do the outreach in the community to sign up their fellow people with for kid care?" And that was the start of this relationship, and it has been amazing ever since. She is just puts her heart and soul into everything, and as Paula said, you go anywhere in the state and they go, "Oh, Rebecca," like, "Oh, you have Rebecca. She's amazing. We need her." So, Rebecca, I don't think we opened up your mic, but I told you by email, and I want to say to the world, I love you. You are amazing. You will be incredibly missed. Thank you so much for all that you've done. And enjoy that baby.
Yes. I hear it's better than having your own, so. Anybody else? And her mic isn't open. She can't say a few words.
She's not in the, Amy, can we? Or Marlando, can we open our mic?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
yes.
Yes, go right
Yay. I want to thank the council for the very fine words, Dr. Thaddeus, Cindy, Dawn. Thank you so much for the very kind words. It really hits my heart. We have been celebrating 20 years together, Cindy. It has been a long time. I want to thank the council for their continued support. Without you, we would not be here. And we have, I love my job. It's bittersweet to be leaving. But like Dr. Thaddeus said, I have a beautiful new grandson that I want to spend some time with and take care of while he's little. And hopefully we'll have some more after this. It was such a surprise. We never expected it. My daughter's in her 40s. I just didn't think it was ever going to happen. But it's because of the council that we've been here for so long and we've been helping the children. And I thank you so much for all your support, but I thank you for your trust. Your trust in the way that I run the program, your trust in my ability to do the things that were needed to be done to get out there and get this program out into the public and to the kids, and your trust for the staff and your kindness every time that we were out in public and we'd see each one of you. I love so many people on the council. I've made so many friends and so much family through this last 20 years working with the council and all of our community partners. And I just thank you all so very much for making my time at work a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca, for everything you've done. All right, we're going to go ahead and move on to the approval for the May 2021 council minute. Can I get a motion, please? Thank you, Maria, for the second. Any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, pass. Thank you. So next on the list, we have approval for the cancellation of the July meeting. If this is approved, our next meeting will be August 19th at 9:30 a.m. Can I get a motion?
Motion.
Second. Thank you. Any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed. Thank you. I didn't think that was going to be a big issue. I'm hoping people are going to be enjoying some vacation time with their family. We're going to go ahead and move on to the president's report. So Cindy.
Yes, on behalf of myself and the staff, I thank you for that. Otherwise, I would be having the meeting from California. So, yay. So many good things have happened. This is a little long, but I had to share. I couldn't figure out what to cut. So the senior heart send-off for the children who are homeless going off to college, you approved our match funding for that last month, and it happened. And I'm sorry I couldn't go, but by all accounts, it was amazing, beautiful. The kids were overwhelmed. You can see Andrew's smiling face, and it's a little difficult to tell, but Mr. Runcie is beaming. Every picture of him, he was beaming. So you can feel good about that. On the other end of the spectrum, to some extent, tomorrow's Rainbow did their Hopeful Tears, Grief, and Trauma Summit. The good part about that is, you know, they're they use their little ponies to help children cope with grief and loss. And Lord knows there's a lot of that happening now. So we are proud to help provide the tools for other practitioners through the summit to learn how to help people through grief and loss. And Tomorrow's Rainbow has always been an amazing, amazing partner for us. This next one comes to us from Monty, and it's one of those in the most unexpected places. I'm going to divulge a little personal information, Monty. Monty's built a new house, or has renovated a house, and she has a pool. And she was getting some chemicals or some treatment for the pool. And in her correspondence, the woman writes back how amazing, she says, on a personal note, as a single mother at the time who received wonderful services, including counseling for my kids, thank you from the bottom of my heart for all the CSC Broward does for families. There were times I'd given up in my mind and felt completely helpless and alone. But your organization was there for me and my babies, and I can never thank you all enough. You all will be hearing from us again. So she shared it with me, and I'm like, we have to tell the council. It's important for us to know how this stuff is doing. But she asked permission, of course, and said, but we won't say your name. And she's like, oh no, no. I have no problem with anyone knowing my story and the joy and appreciation I have for the blessing you all were to us. It's not every day that we get to have that reminder of why we do what we love. Oftentimes we get bogged down in the day-to-day paperwork and those who would rather blast out how unhappy they are versus highlight the good done. I'm happy to be that reminder for you. Please make sure that the board knows that no matter if they hear it or see it in person, you all are making a real difference in this world and changing lives. And if you know nothing else, know that you all were guardian angels to a mom who prayed for relief and help and received it through you. So
That was the day we were finalizing the packet, and it was just what Cindy and I needed to say, this is why we do what we do.
yeah, so important for all of us to remember. Then, and just loving how much our providers go above and beyond for people. Another one of these random, I got an email from a CASA volunteer in New York. Had a young woman who wanted to relocate, a young woman in foster care, 17 years old, with a baby, was relocating to Broward and wanted to know what services there might be for her. Didn't provide very much information, so we went back and forth a few times, but I'm like, if anyone can help you, it's the flight center. And the folks, I'm not close enough. Okay. The folks from flight just knocked themselves out yet again to figure out, make the connections. They hadn't even, I don't know why, the folks, Dawn, you'll appreciate this, the folks in the equivalent of DCF in New York had not even reached out to ChildNet. So, well, first step, you need to talk to the community-based care agency here and make those moves. And I just wanted to give them a shout out at Flight publicly. Like so many of our agencies, they just do whatever is necessary to get to the right resolution. And it was for someone who isn't even here yet, but will soon be. So yay, Flight. Another, some exciting news. You may remember a few months ago, Kellogg, we had 2 applications that CSC was writing a letter of support and partnership on for the Kellogg Grant, which is highly competitive and seemed like a pie in the sky. It still may be, but one of the applications, the local one, that was submitted by the Broward Education and Research Alliance, has advanced to the expert review phase of the evaluations. There was several thousand applications submitted from all across the world. This is for their bold solutions to drive an equitable future for children and families and communities across the globe. So BERA, probably just as a reminder, is made up of FAU, Broward County Public Schools, the YWCA of South Florida, the Center for Traumatic Stress Research, and us, which is a solutions-focused research network committed to supporting the removal of education and social barriers for children and communities. So if this funding is awarded, the grant's going to support community-centered research, literacy training, and county-level research, evaluation, and data systems related to culturally relevant dissemination activities. So we are now at the next and final step is for the selection committee review, which will be completed this summer. They're making $90 million in awards. 10 teams are going to be selected as finalists. Each will receive a one-year, $1 million planning grant, which includes 9 months of capacity building support to further develop their project. And then at that point, at phase 2, at least 5 additional awards, adding up to $80 million, will be announced in the summer of 2022. So this is pretty exciting. And we're in the running, so yay. Then a little closer within our own community, and speaking of amazing things, whoops, yes, our two on the left, we have Melissa Sosa, who appeared for us on Hispanic radio on Friday, May 21st. She was in the Services and Resources segment of COS Radio, a Spanish-speaking radio station, to inform the community of different programs, initiatives, and services that CSC has to offer. The Spanish broadcast was live and got questions from the listeners and was presented simultaneously on all of the radio station's social media platforms. For those who don't know, Melissa Sosa started here as our receptionist almost 20 years. Well, it was in 16 years ago? No, 18 years ago. It was just when we moved into Cypress Creek. And now is a program manager and appearing on radio speaking about our programs. We're very proud of her. Michelle Higgs, because we are reaching out in all of our niche media markets, trying to make sure that everybody knows. Michelle Higgs, one of our resident experts in maternal child health, as in that role, as part of the mental and behavioral well-being educational campaigns, appeared on Caribbean radio. She was interviewed on Caribbean Rhythms, a stream program whose audience is primarily South Florida residents of Jamaican heritage. The topic was maternal depression, its potential effects on mother-child bonding, and resources available to address it. CSC-funded programs in this area provide intensive mental health treatment with in-home professionals, supporting moms in promoting safe, secure, and positive attachments while decreasing behaviors that can lead to child abuse and neglect. We are so proud of her as well, always eloquent and passionate on this issue of maternal child health. Now I have something fun to show you. Our partnership for WaterSmart. You know, we talked about the PSA and Miss Penny, and this is just one of the PSAs that's been produced. So we thought it would.
With so many pools, lakes, canals, and beaches in South Florida, you have to do your part and be water smart.
Do your part, be water smart.
If there is a pool and it has a gate, walk away, don't open it. That would be great.
Do your part, be water smart.
Don't go in the water if you are all alone. Find a water watcher to keep an eye on the zone.
Do your part, be water smart.
You can learn to float, but swimming is better. You can find your lessons at the recreation center.
Do your part, be water smart. Do your part, be water smart. Do your part.
With so many pools, lakes, canals, and beaches in South Florida, you have to do your part and be water.
So there's some targeting the kids, obviously, that was for them. They're targeting the parents. And for those of you who know Miss Penny, that's not her typical way of addressing, but she was game for anything. And if you, those of you with grandchildren or children, young children, know that Miss Penny is a rock star in their world. If you watch Kid Vision on WLRN, or yeah, WLRN, yes, in the morning, she's all over the place, and the kids adore her. When you could see her out in the world, when the little ones see her, they lose their minds. So she's a really great spokesperson for this, and I hope it makes a difference. Well, this next item, I thought we are ahead of the curve. You approved this last year, but as of yesterday, we're now in line with the federal government in recognizing Juneteenth as a holiday. It's the way we like it. So we will be observing Juneteenth tomorrow, even though it is on Saturday, like all holidays. We will observe it the day before. It is, I mean, since we can't do it on, for those, I mean, hopefully anybody listening, I know the council knows because we discussed this at length. This is when the last slaves in Texas knew that they were freed. It's an important day for our Black brothers and sisters, and I'm proud of the CSC for recognizing that. We have been doing a lot of learning in this area, and I think it sets a great example for the rest of our community. Okay, finally, the last two things are a little personal. I'm being recognized by 211 for their 25th silver anniversary. So I'm honored by that. It's I hope you can. It would be great to have some, I believe it's going to be an actual in-person event on October 9th. And I'm really honored by that. I'm not a great fundraiser for people. I'm not a big draw. So it's really because of our involvement over the years, and that's really nice.
And I have a table, so I am inviting the council members to just let us know if you'd like to come, and you'll be our guest.
Thank you. Yeah, I think so. I think that's allowed. You can- And then finally, it's a big thing this summer. Myself, Monty, Shawanda, and Sandra will be celebrating 20 years with the Children's Services Council over this summer. It's flown by like 20 years. You wouldn't believe it was anything more than 19. No. But we've seen a lot of changes. I remember the days when I could tell you every month, every day that everything had happened at CSC. And not quite as good at that anymore, but it's been an amazing 20 years. Certainly those other three, Sandra, Monty, and Shawanda, as well as some who, like Karen, who have retired, laid every brick that you see here today, the foundation that we could not have accomplished nearly, I can't imagine what it would have been like without them, and of course, all that have followed, and everybody that has contributed along the way. It's truly amazing, and so
Never
thank
gets
you.
old.
No, it's, we had a meeting with a consultant yesterday who's working with the chiefs on racial equity and how to manage the emotional toll that takes and so on. And we had a little conversation about change management, and she was saying how, how people react to change. And I said, you need to understand something about Children's Services Council. We are constantly in change management. It's not like, oh, now we are undergoing this significant change, and so help us figure out how to do that. No, we have not stopped changing in 20 years. So it's an exciting ride, and thank you for the opportunity. Thank you for keeping me here this long. And anyway, okay.
Wait, can I just really quick?
Oh,
I just want to say thank you to, well, of course, all the staff, but the 4 that have been here for 20 years. I mean, CSC has always been an amazing organization, and it's because of the people that work here and within our community. So thank you very much. And also, just for the record, Donna Corn has arrived. Thank you.
Thank you. It has been an amazing ride. And it's not over yet. We're not going anywhere yet, unless you have other plans for me. Okay, so the next item, Madam Chair, is the approval to join the Florida Hate Crime Coalition. I think the issue paper was pretty self-explanatory, but I'll entertain any questions, or if you want to make a motion.
Yes, I'll take a motion.
Motion to approve joining the Florida Hate Council Crime Coalition under tab 20.
Thank you, Donna. Any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Pass, thank you.
Thank you. With respect to the COVID-19 update, the youth mental health first aid training, I had mentioned this, I think, last month, and then at the joint exec finance meeting. It's really going well. I am so proud of the way the summer providers have stepped up to, well, first, how our staff, and I threw this at them at the last minute. Summer was coming, and they, as they always do, when I say jump, they don't just say how high, they say, you know, how many buildings do you want me to leap over? And so they jumped on this immediately, both the PS staff for mobilizing the summer providers and our amazing training staff who organized getting the trainers ready. And we've already had several trainings coming through. They're really stepping up. I know you all had expressed an interest, and yesterday Amy emailed you the upcoming dates of July 9th and July 30th. And what I'm asking for here in this issue paper is to expand that even further going forward. As we talked about at Finance and Exec, there are others who have been working in this space, but it's been a very small, limited number. And together, we want to make it really much more significant. This is a training that people do not have to be mental health professionals to take or to use. It's tools that can be helpful for anyone when dealing with young people. I myself am looking forward to taking it to help me with managing my own child. We all have, and others that we work with. So that's what the issue paper is talking about, being able to get more people to do more training and also to establish more trainers in the community, get more people certified so that we can be a hub and be more self-sustaining. So that's what I'm asking for there.
Motion to approve mental health first aid training expansion under tab 21.
Second.
Thank you, Donna. Any discussion? Any public comments?
No public comment.
All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great, pass, thank you.
And then the vaccine hesitancy campaign, I just wanted to tell you it is going on. They're bringing down the age ranges. We've had some discussion. I think Paula could probably speak to this more eloquently than me if she would like. But, you know, it's the 20-somethings and the teens. We really need to get to pick up their uptake in the vaccines. And so I just wanted you to know that that is happening. But Paula, did you want to?
I could talk about this all day, because that's all I ever do, is talk about this all day. We're at 62% of people aged 12 and up in Broward who are vaccinated. We still have, at least 7 fixed sites that are running, or they will be, probably 9 at this point that are running. We have probably 150 pop-ups scheduled at this point that have either been completed or scheduled between May and August. But we're finding that incrementally it's getting harder and harder and harder, which of course is what we expected. And the uptake at each of those events is smaller and smaller and smaller. These campaigns are really important. Obviously, the health department is participating in I Did It, and also in the county's campaign, which started out as Want Life to Get Back to Normal, and then moved on to Take the Shot, which is more youth-oriented, and we're working with them on doing some youth and sports-oriented television commercials. And then we have our campaign in 4 languages, basically telling people where to go and what to do. But I think, these myths and facts cannot be underestimated. And I've done some presentations on them to different groups. And, people have some very deeply held personal beliefs with regard to issues rooted in, rooted in history, rooted in structural racism, rooted in a lot of things that are, difficult to address with sort of a one-size-fits-all messaging. And so we, the county held a meeting for pastors in South County, and I attended, and they talked about some of the reservations that people have, and we're going to follow up with the county on doing more specific focus groups of specific communities to understand really what their concerns are. And then some of them are going to be harder to address than others. And to understand what messaging, if any, is going to be effective. And so we're taking a much deeper dive. So at one point, on this side, we're making it as accessible and convenient as possible, offering incentives for people who may be on the fence or it just may not have been accessible to them geographically or time off work or other reasons. And then on this side, we need to actually really understand what the barriers are for certain communities and how we can address them and how we can use trusted voices within those communities to address them. We have variants that are circulating amongst unvaccinated people, variants that are variants of concern, including the Delta variant. And these are variants of concern because they're either more transmissible or cause more serious disease or both. And this is a huge concern. So far, the Pfizer vaccine is effective against these variants if you've had 2 doses, but not so much if you've had 1. And, we don't know what that's going to look like going forward. So this is really important, both for folks that are not vaccinated and could become very important even for folks that are vaccinated. So that's sort of, but we and the county and the state are continuing to move forward and to try to do whatever's necessary to incrementally increase these numbers as much as possible to protect everybody.
Paula, I noticed this week on social media that the Boys and Girls Club were hosting a vaccination event, and I'd be curious to see, how that was supported, because that's a place, the community trusts, and there's a lot of them. They're all over the place, so it would be interesting to follow that and see if they got a good turnout or a light turnout, and if they got a good one, maybe that's a
But
great
again-
place, and not just there, but at the YMCA and all the other obvious
absolutely.
places.
And we've reached out to, we're doing pop-ups with municipalities, with the county, in the bus stations, in faith-based institutions, in mobile home parks, anywhere that anybody wants one. We've done 2 rounds of vaccination in every public high school in Broward and any charter high schools that wanted to participate. We're currently in summer session, going into summer session on the 22nd, obviously in partnership with the school board, going to at least one school in each innovation zone. That'll be open to all the kids 12 and up in that innovation zone. They don't have to come with their parents. All the information will be available through Parent Link. They'll have the ability to fill out the consent form in advance and to have their child bring that and to ask us any questions in advance by telephone when they read the fact sheet. Hopefully, we'll be able to work with the school board when the vaccine is approved for ages less than 12, go into the elementary schools, working with the school board as well with regard to expanded access to rapid testing and traditional laboratory PCR testing in the new school year, to make sure that we can start contact tracing as soon as possible, but also to make sure that kids can get back to school as soon as possible if they're symptomatic, but they test negative. So, sorry. Oh, this is my phone. I'm sorry. So those are all the things that we're doing, and we'll just keep plugging away with all of our partners. But yes, we do look at the pop-ups, and we do look at, what the turnout is and whether or not, we repeat every pop-up because we have to go back for the second dose. But definitely ones that are more successful, we're always happy to, to go back, and we'll pop up anywhere, as you know.
And Paula, if obviously, if there's any reach out that you want to do to the after-school summer providers, anything that you send us, we'll send to them sometime, over the summer. Many of them will be on the same campus, but the children may not be going to the summer program that the school district is running. I don't know if they'll be getting the same communication from the school, but if you want to send it to us, we can certainly push it out, and at worst, they're getting it twice. And then we do have some that are not on campuses. So if they can, I don't know, bring the kids to the school or something, anything that we can do to help through the summer programs, please let us know.
We will, and every child, I believe, that is 12 and over that is in that innovation zone is going to get that Parent Link. I don't know that, so even if they attend an after-school program that's not in their innovation zone, they'll get it for the innovations, they'll get it. So, but thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Any other, Donna?
So I know you're working closely, obviously, with the school district in terms of the locations as well as the communication piece. But I think the perception, at least from what I've read on this Delta variant, is that it is actually peaking with the younger, that 12 to 20. That's different than the message that I think parents and children have heard prior to this Delta variant. And so I would say that whatever communication, if this can't be something that the school district's done up to this point, right? It has to be something where, if anything, that communication may need to increase or find other avenues, even through our own social media. So whatever coordination, if there's any assistance that I can give in making sure that we push the issue, please let me know.
Any other questions? I have a quick question. I know that you mentioned Pfizer. So what about, because I know this question is going to come up, what about the other vaccines? Do we know anything about it? Have you heard anything as it relates to the Delta variants, is it?
The article that I read was specifically about Pfizer, but I would have to look at the research.
Okay, thank you, Paula. Anything else? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and, sorry, that was mine. We're going to go ahead and move on to our 2020 legislative session recaps. There's a lot that went on. So Megan, if you want to go ahead.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me this morning. I'm excited to provide you with a wrap-up of this legislative session that concluded on April 30th. As you are well aware, COVID had a significant impact to how we were able to advocate and how we were able to be in Tallahassee. So we were definitely more in a virtual setting with meeting with legislators and staff. So in total, I'd like to think that this didn't really negatively impact what we were able to get done though. In total, 273 bills were passed out of the more than 3,000 that were filed. As of today, the governor has signed about 100, I think 118, unless he's signed a few more while we've been sitting here. He has until June 30th to sign or veto the rest of these pieces of legislation, and he's also signed the budget, which I'll get into next. In terms of our legislative agenda, I'm excited to share that a lot of key pieces of legislation from our platform did pass this session and are awaiting the governor's approval if they have not been signed already. Notably, this session, we were able to secure the passage of the VPK accountability bill. This expanded accountability for the VPK system and moved the Office of Early Learning to the Department of Education. This bill's already been signed by the governor. Additionally, in terms of our 2Gen work, House Bill 1349 regarding assistance programs passed. This bill requires the University of Florida Anita Zucker Center to provide a report on benefit cliffs for programs including housing, Medicaid, childcare, SNAP, TANF, and others. This report will assist us in making recommendations regarding these cliffs. Additionally, the Juvenile Diversion Program Expansion Bill passed this session. This removes the requirement that limits diversion programs to misdemeanor offenses. And this is expected to benefit more than 26,000 children in the state of Florida. There are a couple other pieces of legislation that are highlighted in the report provided, but I'll let you read those on your own time. In terms of the budget, this legislature passed a $101.5 billion budget this session, infused by billions of federal aid from the pandemic. This is the largest budget ever passed by the legislature. The governor did sign the budget on June 2nd with more than $1.5 billion in vetoes. And looking ahead, we're already getting ready to ramp up for session next year. I'd anticipate that you'll be receiving a platform for your approval in August or September of this year. And we'll be back up for pre-committee week starting in September, and session will begin in January 2022. So I'm happy to take any questions on that or anything else in your packet.
I don't have a question, but I just want to comment. I love Megan's enthusiasm when she's talking about her job. You can see we have the right person in place to advocate for us in Tallahassee. Great job, Megan.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Megan? Or comments?
So I thank you, Kathy, for acknowledging that. She was very frustrated this year not to be able to be up in Tallahassee and still did an amazing job from afar. I just wanted to give you a little heads up on something that I'm working on, is all of this federal funding coming down. There are several streams, and the county is getting a huge amount of money. The cities are getting quite a bit of money individually. The school district is getting a lot of money, and eventually childcare and the Early Learning Coalition will be getting a lot of money. When I say a lot, it's like mind-boggling amounts of money. And my current mission is to try and align those three buckets, at least when it comes to children, because each of those has sections that deal with children, and many of them overlap, and many of them, so both as overseeing the children's strategic plan and having our fingers in the pot of everything, I'm trying to be at the table so I can help be the bridge, but also some of these have significant impact on the things that we do. There's a lot of money for after-school care, after school and summer. That can have a huge impact on our funding and the way that rolls out, depending on choices that are made at this time, soon. The childcare funding, again, huge implications for whether our dollars should be shifted for now while that's there, how we can, just how it all should happen. So it's an interesting, it is, because so little attention, it's funny, there was all this attention at the federal level of this passing, and the dollar amounts were, oh, trillions, and you're like, okay, trillions of dollars, what does that actually mean? And then it's billions of dollars, like hundreds of billions of dollars coming into the state of Florida, and no one's talking about it. It's like it didn't happen, but it's significant. The county is getting almost $400 million over the next 2 years. Sorry, Donna, but the school district is getting over $1 billion. And somehow this is like not, over a couple of years. But it's not like over 10 years, it's over 2 or 3 years. It's significant money that is needed, and certainly when it comes to children, are things that we've been advocating for years. So how does that get used in a way that supports, is used for infrastructure in ways that can be sustained, doesn't create huge vacuums when it goes away? There are much smarter minds than mine, I'm sure, that are poring over it. I just want to help make sure to help be some eyes of some unintended consequences, and also perhaps be a conduit. I'm not in this for us to get money, but certainly if there's something around after school and summer programming where we already have an infrastructure, let's not duplicate infrastructures. So that's, I just thought I should give you a heads up. That's what's been keeping me up lately at night.
I'm glad that you told us that, and I'm glad that you are at the table. I think we need you and all the heads together, because it does sound like if it's not managed well, there will be problems when that money goes away. So if anyone can manage it, it's you and your team. So thank you for taking it on.
Thank you. It's all, my other fear is that it won't be used well and we won't ever get it again. So there are some, especially when it comes to childcare and after school and summer, these are things we have advocated for federal support and state support for years. And if we don't use it right, and we may never have this opportunity again. Whereas we can really demonstrate that it has made a significant difference both to the industry and the ability of people to work, which is part of the argument, then perhaps this can become ongoing. Maybe not at the levels it is now, because I don't think that's sustainable, but certainly higher than where it has been and the lower priority that it has been.
Donna?
Thank you. And so that's actually a conversation, an ongoing conversation with the school district, is that cliff. So how we are designating certain funds to be used as part of our general fund, and others that are being used specifically out of the ESSER funds are to make sure that we don't get to this cliff, and then all of a sudden we can't support the things that we're doing. But a lot of the targeted dollars with the school district is to find a way to catch our students up from where they fell behind during this period of time. So the summer school, which is the 6 weeks of additional, and we've got over 40,000 students who are going to be attending that. And then additional, one of the big ticket items is going to be ongoing tutoring. Again, this will be a lot more one-on-one. It's much more expensive, but it's a way to try to get those students to not just catch up, but then obviously to make the additional progress. So it's very targeted, and we're being very specific about making sure that those are not dollars that are just taking the place of dollars that we normally would have been using, but instead identifying areas where, what was the impact of COVID? What's the ongoing impact of COVID? And how are we using this to create new resources, not backfill areas that we would have otherwise been funding? So we're being very strategic about that, and it's not all happening in 1 year. Like we said, it's over a 3-year period. In some cases, actually a little bit longer than 3 years to spend those dollars. So we're making sure strategically, because we are not going to catch kids up educationally in a year. We're certainly not going to do it in a summer, and we're not going to do it in a year. And so it's one of those things that we know there's a longer term plan for it. But I think, to Cindy's point, it does have to be something collective, because what the county is doing and what the school district is doing, what CSC is doing, and what a lot of the other partners are doing who are getting some of these funds and who aren't getting some of these funds, it should be impacting everyone's budget. So I would look forward to that collective conversation.
Thank you, Donna. I agree. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you,
That
Cindy.
concludes my report, Madam Chair.
I'm going to go ahead and hand over the agenda to Paula and Kathy for the joint finance PPC meeting.
So the joint finance PPC meeting, all of the information is tabs 23 through 26. And you can find the minutes behind tab 23. And then for tab 24, I'm going to turn it over to Cindy for the revenue update.
So behind tab 24, did you miss me? I was gone for so long. Behind tab 24 is the chart of the projecting out at the last meeting, millage rates and possible budgets moving forward. At your May budget retreat, you had agreed by consensus that you wanted to go to rollback. The dollars, the preliminary millage, no, I'm sorry, the preliminary property values which we received showed a 4.4% increase in property values, which is a little higher than the 3% that we had projected in May, which was just a best guess estimate. Keeping in mind that this may change a little bit between now and when we get the final in July. At this point, a 4.4% increase would mean rollback would take us to 0.4658. The good news about that is, as we know, economies are cyclical. If things go south, it gives us a little bit more headroom between us and between our millage rate and our cap of 0.5. It's always a little comforting to have that cushion in case an increase is needed in the future. To increase the budget, despite going to rollback, as we talked about at length last month, we're looking at using fund balance to offset. And you'll see in 21-22, we're looking at using 15.5 million in fund balance. That's a little lower than what we projected last month, and that is because of some of the technicalities behind how rollback is calculated that I would bore you to death if I tried to explain. So even though we're not taking advantage of the 4.4% increase, there's a little bit more money because of all the behind the scenes things that happen. So we need 15.5 million in fund balance. If we maintain, and that represents a $5.5 million increase in the budget over where we were this year, assuming modest increases going forward and keeping a level millage rate, you'll see we were projecting out how much fund balance would be needed to maintain a flat budget going forward. While that does, 12.5 million, 10.5 million, and 8.4 million represent more money than we currently have in fund balance. As we discussed, you never use 100% of the budget. It's a cushion, and I feel pretty comfortable that that is doable. We also do still have those offsetting opportunities of increasing the millage rate if we need to, and a lot of other ways. I think it can work for you to go to rollback, and so that is the revenue projection that supports the proposed budget.
So the two action items in this section are behind tab 25 and tab 26. So behind tab 25 is a really in-depth follow-up of the questions that were raised at the budget retreat. And only one of those actually had a financial impact. It was the 300,000 of the 6 million available and unallocated for fiscal year 21-22, and using that to expand legal supports for children in the child welfare system. And the joint meeting had a really rigorous discussion about the legal supports program, and particularly about the challenges in recruitment and selection and retention as a consequence to salaries, and what possible mitigation could be done about that. And then also about the opportunities for pro bono and volunteer work from lawyers in the private sector with regard to these issues. And then Cindy was going to follow up.
And I have. So if you're, so I did I did not discuss the pro bono side yet with them, but we will be following up on that. But the urgency around the dollars, I wanted to make sure I had clear before this meeting. So we did clarify that within the child representation arm of legal aid, they do not have a problem with retention. They've had a pretty stable group. The Attorney General's office had a lot of problems, but yes, but ours, but the ones that we're funding at legal aid, that has not been an issue. And I did clarify that even if it was, they were not open to those people making more than the rest of the organization. That was not something that the CEO would entertain. But it's not, it doesn't appear to be necessary. On the recruitment side, they face the challenges that a lot of us face when recruiting. You have some people who would be amazing, and they're looking for dollars that are not feasible. And then you have those who have no experience applying, and that is problematic. And then so it's finding the sweet spot. They seem to have they find some folks who have gained experience, probably the ones at the Attorney General's office that are moving along, that wind up going to legal aid, or some fresh out of college, fresh out of law school, and then train them up to be what they want them to be. And they have found that to be a good system now. So they thought the 300,000 would be great to get them the additional attorneys for now. I will pursue with them the pro bono, because that is important. And but I think we're good with your recommendation now.
So the committee made the recommendation for approval of 300,000 to the full council. Is there a motion?
Second.
Any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? So the motion carries. Thank you. And then the other action item was behind tab 26, which is actually two. Can those be taken together, or today? Okay. So a motion to approve the draft tentative fiscal year 21-22 budget, and to approve the tentative millage rate, and authorize staff to adjust the budget based on the property appraiser's final report, and submit the necessary forms to the appropriate officials. Is there a motion? Second?
Second.
Any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Kathy, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
I just want to say thank you, Paula. You did a great job doing all the hard work on that meeting, but I want to say thank you to Cindy and the team for that follow-up. That's very helpful, and I think that was good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the Chief Program Officer Report. Maria?
Good morning, everybody. So there are 3 issue papers for your consideration under my report. I don't know if you want me to go into each one individually. I'll be happy to do that. I will say the first one has to do with the HEAL RFP raters. So you have a list of raters that we'd like you to consider to approve. And in addition to this list, we have 2 private foundations that have reached out to us, Community Foundation and the DeLuca Foundation, who may also want to serve as raters on this procurement. They're interested in exploring how they can partner with us to expand these services. So when this issue paper was written, we were in conversations with them, did not realize that they would potentially want to be raters and that they might want to partner. So I just wanted to include that in the ask to allow them also to serve as raters if they'd like to. And we also are requesting for the HEAL RFP, generally speaking, the raters that we use, their employers know who we are. You know, it's Dr. Thackey's staff, it's Dawn's staff, it's school board staff, and then it's our vast provider community. Occasionally, we will identify raters that their employers aren't familiar with CSC, and in order for that rater to serve on a rating committee, they would need to take time off work or not get paid. So we're asking to be able to compensate those raters. And at this point, it's up to 3 raters. And the compensation would be $25 an hour to serve on the rating committee. So that was what the budget impact is of $375.
Maria, that was just to attend the meeting, not to do all the work that they do to, come to the.
Right. So truthfully, the reviewing of those proposals by really almost all raters are done in evenings and weekends. So that's why we didn't include that time for these raters, because pretty much anyone who rates for us, you have a full-time job and you're reading these proposals on your own time. And when our staff volunteer to rate, like for the county's procurement, we had like 12 staff rating for them. They really had to do that weekends and evenings. So that's why that's not included.
I appreciate it. I was actually wanting to make the point that it takes a lot of time to be a rater. So to pay them to come to the meeting, I think is a great idea, but it doesn't nearly compensate them for the hours that they put in to support us in the work.
If you have no questions on the other, want a motion for those 3?
Right. Maria, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything on the other 2, because we're going to take the motion for all 3 together.
No, unless anyone has questions.
So can I get a motion?
Motion to approve health, HEAL, trauma, RFP raters, and rater compensation under 27. Motion to approve fiscal sponsor fees to various agencies under tab 28. And motion to approve the return of the Henderson Behavioral Health Early Childhood Court funds to unallocated under tab 29.
Thank you. Any discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. Thank you, Maria.
Thank you.
So next on the agenda is going to go over to Sue Gallagher, our CIO.
So I'm having work done at my house and the dogs have lost their mind. My apologies. It happened at the exact moment my item comes up. I will do the best I can. If you can't hear me, let me know. I've got 2 items for your approval. One is to approve the TIL data sharing agreement, which will include a new partner and extend the 2-year term. The second is, after your approval last month for the BCPS CSC data sharing agreement, we had a great opportunity come up to be able to include automation language and development in the agreement. And so we jumped on it and have brought it forward for your approval. And these are the 2 items. So please let me know if you have any questions.
Okay. So we are also going to take a motion to approve the additional no, I'm on the wrong one. I apologize. We're going to take a motion to approve the TIL data sharing agreement and also a motion to approve the revised BCPS data sharing agreement. Second? Thank you, Donna. Any discussion?
Can I just make
Yes.
a quick note under tab 30? It was just exciting to see that Children's Harbor was added to Flight Center agreement. So just want to
That's amazing.
Thank you, Donna. Any other discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Approved. Thank you. So
Thank you.
we're going to go ahead and move on to Sandra, our CEO.
Good morning, everyone. I have two items, one behind tab D and another behind tab E. The first one is to approve additional REI workshops. We have a huge waiting list and we needed to get some of these people into the workshops. And the second was to approve the back to school contingency funding. It's rough out there in terms of fundraising this year, and we do not want to compete with our providers. If there are no further questions, I ask that you approve both items.
Sandra, I just wanted to say I'm very excited. We have a wait list for our REI workshops because I know you've had a lot of them and they're taking like 80 or 100 people at a time. So that's very, very impressive.
That's the hard work of Adama and her crew. Thanks to those ladies who work so hard. Thank you, Kathy.
Okay, so I'd like to make a motion to approve under tab D and E, approve additional REI workshops under D and approve BTSE contingency funding under tab E.
Thank you, Maria. Any discussion?
quick question.
Yes.
Just on tab. Yes. Sorry, I'm just not talking close enough to it. I apologize. So for the 2020-21 back to school extravaganza, I see that 31,000 of it was coming from unallocated. And I know we just spoke to the fact that we didn't want to be competing. Are there other areas where we anticipate, because I think during the budget conversation, we actually spoke to this to some extent. I think there were a couple of areas where we had said we wanted to fund where in the past, maybe we had done some fundraising. So
yeah, two areas, the back to school and the Read for the Record, where we purchased 35,500 books.
Right. So I guess my question is, do we anticipate we're going to see more of this probably throughout the year? Because I know you had already anticipated that in certain areas, and we're adding it obviously already to this item. So do we anticipate that's probably going to be a common theme?
Well, those are the only two things where we do fundraising.
Okay,
And
perfect.
so what you did last month was forward-looking for next year.
Right.
We hadn't done it for this year.
Okay.
So that's where this is coming out of this year's unallocated for this year's back-to-school extravaganza, which happens before our new fiscal year kicks in.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. Any other discussion? Any public comment? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? No, thank you. Now we're going to move on to Monday.
I also have two items. The standard financial statements, nothing too major change there. But in the purchases, I have a couple of items that needed issue papers, one being the copy machine, the new copy machine lease. And then the second one, we need to do a little bit more renovations to carve out some offices, more offices. We're about at the end. I just wanted to make sure that you knew that and if there was any questions.
Are we all, staff all back in the building now?
No, I'm sure Cindy will talk about that. We're going to start transitioning more and more staff in August.
Yeah.
And these offices hopefully should be ready for the first of the fiscal year when we have new staff coming on board.
And we're not staggering, keeping some permanently working from home, therefore we don't need the renovation is where I'm going.
Yeah, no. We're not doing any permanent from home. As a management team, we're not really comfortable with that. We are going to be trying the hybrid work since we have proven that working from home can be effective. So right now, the way we're approaching it is no more than 3 days a week at home, and we're going to see how that works. It's a bit of a management challenge, but I'm hopeful that that it works well. If that does take, then we can look at people sharing offices in ways that are complementary. But I'm hesitant to, I think we need this renovation now so that we're prepared. And then if that works and it's something that goes on forever, then that will allow us to play with people and the offices. Correct. But at the end of this,
We're just
we're
about maxed out.
out of any open space,
Right.
turning it into an office, unless and until we find that nobody wants to do in-person training or meetings anymore, and then we'd have to cannibalize the training rooms. But since none of you were here when we built the building, I'm sorry, Paula was. One of the commitments that was made at the time was this is a public building, a public space, and that we would have public meeting rooms so that because meeting rooms are so scarce in the county, that there would be a place for the community to come. And under normal circumstances, pre-COVID, the place is jumping all the time with all kinds of partner meetings happening here. So, if the post-COVID life is no more face-to-face meetings, then okay. But if it goes back to that, I would hate to cannibalize those if we don't have to. Also, you may realize the way the building was constructed, with that in mind, the public space is all in front of locked off areas. So the training rooms in here, people can come and go to the bathroom, but then you hit locked doors before you get to where confidential information might be, and you don't want folks. So that would create all kinds of other challenges construction-wise. Donna?
If I could, through the chair, just one quick question. On the office build-out estimate, I know that there's the build-out for the offices and the permits are identified. Did the contractor include the architectural and engineering costs in their quote, or is that in addition to?
There shouldn't be any, it's just dividing an office that's really 2 offices. We'll just put, I don't think there's going to be any addition, there will not be any additional architectural drawings.
Okay, so the reason I ask that is because when you apply for a permit, you have to submit plans.
Right. So I think I know he includes all that.
Perfect, that's all
Yeah,
I was asking.
yeah, no additional architecture.
Thank you.
It's really easy.
So can I get a motion to approve the budget amendments and interim financial statements for May 2021 and approve our monthly annual purchases?
Second.
Any further discussion? Any public comment?
No public comment.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Great. Thank you, Monty. I'm going to hand over to Cindy in regards to the Broward Reads Coalition report.
You really are hearing way too much from me today. The meeting went really well. There are no minutes because it just happened. The collaboration that we see going on in this county is extraordinary. There's going to be a lot of the federal funding will have a big impact on what happens here, I think, because you've got tons coming down for childcare if we can shake it loose from the state. And then, of course, the remediation that the school district is going to be doing. But you'll have the minutes next month in your FYI, and I think that's enough for now.
Thank you, Cindy. Any questions? Maria, I'm going to hand over to you for the Funders Forum report.
Thank you, Dawn. And Kathy, I'm trying to find ways to be more enthusiastic to match Megan's enthusiasm. So I'm searching for it. So you have the minutes of Funders Forum. You know, since we shifted to the virtual, to Zoom, we have on average 20 to 25 people attending Funders Forum, which really makes me very happy. I believe it was last week is when we had Funders Forum, and the school board had a number of staff come and present. They gave us an update on the summer academic camp. Dan Gold, Dr. Hickman, and John Sullivan did a high-level presentation on the funding that Donna and Cindy were talking about. So very high level. And they, within Funders Forum, there's a link to the presentation that Dan ran through quickly. And then what I would point out to you, and I thought this was a really good system improvement, is Sylvia Quintana from Broward Behavioral Health. She shared that Broward Behavioral Health has received funding from DCF through the CARES Act to create children's care coordination teams. There was a concern expressed in the county about the increase in Baker Act with children, and then when the kids are being released from the Baker Act facilities, the challenges with coordinating care for them so that they do not return to another Baker Act situation. So these teams are intended to connect kids who are leaving the Baker Act facilities to appropriate treatment and help them to continue to be stable and receive ongoing treatment. So I was really excited about that. And those were the high level summary of Funders Forum.
Maria, you said 25 people attended and you were excited about that. So that was more people attending virtually Funders Forum?
Yes, you know, so one of the folks who just joined Funders Forum is Kristen Schmidt from the Helios Foundation, and she was sharing that they work a lot with Hillsborough. So I kind of jokingly said to her, well, now that we're Zoom, you can work a lot with us because we're equally as close to you. So I think that helps folks, I think it helps folks to find time in their schedule. They don't have to drive to the meeting. You know, sometimes folks are in their cars picking up their kids, others funders, and they're joining the meeting that way. So the virtual world has helped to diversify the number of funders that are coming to Funders Forum. So I'm happy about that. There's obviously, you know, we used to on occasion get together after Funders Forum. So that in Zoom isn't happening, but hopefully in the future we can work that out as well.
Great, thank you.
I also just want to add to what Maria was discussing in regards to Sylvia and BBHC getting funding for care coordination. If you haven't heard or heard some whispers around, you know, care coordination is a huge push up in Tallahassee. So not only did they fund care coordination for BBHC, they've also funded care coordination for our economic self-sufficiency program. So that way we are serving the families, not just financially, but in other aspects as well. So and the responsibility of those people really is to see what other services they need so they're able to become self-sufficient, and in hopes that they don't enter other areas of the system, whether that's dependency or DJJ or criminal or whatever that may be. And also they have financed some care coordination, 1 or 2 positions with our substance abuse and mental health folks as well. So thank you, Maria. Any questions for Maria? I'm going to hand it over to Cindy.
Okay, so one sort of non-agenda item, because it came up just at the last minute, but since I was recognizing 20 years for some of us and the retirement of Rebecca Mule, who's been a great partner, I have to recognize one of our own, who has served as staff member here for 19 years and notified us that she's going to be retiring in July, since there won't be a July meeting. I have to tell you about Gloria Pudiak. Gloria is, you've seen her do some of the roundtables as our researcher extraordinaire. She is the most dogged of research people that you'll ever meet. She actually came from the fashion world in her younger years, but somehow developed this passion for data and research. And she has the most, as I said, dogged determination to also make sure that every source that she brings you is correct. She has been known to find errors on state websites, on national research projects. She looks for where, you know, she tracks it down to the nth degree. So she is amazing. She is passionate and caring and just an integral part of making this agency what it is. All of that return on investment data that you get in the budget books, that's all Gloria. That's been her passion. She tracks it down. She finds it anywhere. She looks for updates. She looks for newer. It's going to be really hard to find someone to replace her. And I wanted you to know that one of those bricks in the foundation that you value is Gloria Pudiak, and she will be very missed. So thank you, Gloria. And now sorry, you're gonna do public comment first and then the roundtable.
Again, thank you, Gloria, for all your service with the Children's Service Council. Any public comment?
No public comments.
Thank you. Thank you. So now we're going to turn over for the council members roundtable for capacity building.
Good morning, everyone. First and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to be here and also the ability to be able to support our community through the capacity building.
Adama, Madam Chair, there is a public comment from Walter Hahnemann.
Okay, thank you. Walter?
Okay, let him in.
Good morning. I'm so sorry to have interrupted. I was trying to figure out how to get onto general public comment on agenda item 11. I just wanted to thank the council for its ongoing support so that we can help our children in the dependency system and continue the good work that you allow to have happen. So thank you very, very much for that support, and I'll be available to answer any questions. Thank you. And again, sorry for this interruption on the early learning. My bad.
No problem, Walter. And thank you to your staff that do such an amazing job with our kiddos in the court system. And Paula's shaking her head. Okay, so sorry, Adama, I'm gonna hand it back to you.
Thank you very much. So again, thank you for the opportunity to be here and the ability to be able to provide the type of support through the Children's Services Council, Public Affairs and Organizational Development Department that we do for local child and family serving organizations around capacity building. So my name is Adama Ducille. I am the Assistant Director of Training and Capacity Building here. I'm joined today by our training team, which includes our Senior Training Manager, Roxanne Smith, our other training manager, Nicolette Picardi, and our administrative assistant, Yolanda Meadows. So we are going to provide you with a overview of some of the growth and also resources that we have available through our capacity building initiatives. So next slide, Andrew. So I want to start first by acknowledging our Chief Communications Officer, Sandra Bernard Bastian, for all of the leadership that she provides us. Secondly, our two Capacity Building Committee co-chairs, Attorney Jeff Wood and Dr. David Kenton, as well as past chair, Anna Valadares. Under their guidance, we've been able to make so much progress and growth in this area and provide so many opportunities for the child and family serving organizations that we serve through professional development. So, and also the CSC leadership team for always supporting the initiatives that we put forth and trying to find innovative ways to meet the needs of our communities. So next slide. One of the things that we just want to acknowledge is the importance of nonprofits in the social structure of local and national communities, as well as the importance of being able to provide the infrastructure and development support, as well as the capacity building for those organizations. So at CSC, we do that through 4 umbrella areas. One is capacity building initiatives, comprehensive and diverse professional and organizational capacity building resources that we provide, skill building trainings, which are a wide array of in-person and also virtual trainings now that we offer. And those are all provided by industry experts. Then volunteer and civic engagement opportunities through our partnership with Hands on Broward. And lastly, and this kind of weaves through all of the other areas, our racial equity and social justice initiatives, equity-centered workshops, learning opportunities. We support several different affinity groups, which you'll hear about, and the development and support of a lot of learning communities and related activities. So next slide, Andrew. Now have Roxanne Smith, our Senior Training Manager, walk us through a little bit of what we do related to capacity building through our Agency Capacity Building Committee.
Thank you, Adama. And I'd just like to also thank Commissioner Furr, because he was also a past chair on the agency capacity building meetings. So CSC capacity building resources are designed to strengthen individual leaders and strengthen organizations. And when we look at leadership training, both consultants for our leadership programs have trained with CSC for over 15 years. Their expertise and passion have helped leaders improve skills while increasing both professional and personal satisfaction and improving their self-care. Several participants have received promotions for attending one of these trainings, among many other outcomes. The Frequency Matters program with Kristen Mackey is comprised of 2 training series, one for executive and high-performing leaders, and the other for young professionals, which is new this year, and one online program for high school students entering the workforce, which is also new this year. The first 2 programs run 8 weeks. They include executive level coaching and many value added components. To date, 107 have graduated through 6 cohorts of these programs. The next leadership program is with the Ronick Radlower group called Learning to Lead. It's designed for mid to senior level managers, and it's more in depth. It runs for 9 months, and over 220 have graduated from this program to date. CSC sponsors up to 10 community leaders and 2 CSC staff annually. And when we look at organizational development, there are many different opportunities to strengthen organizations. The agency capacity building meetings are one way. They run on a quarterly basis, and it's a great opportunity for nonprofit leaders to learn about local resources, as well as participate in our panel discussions by asking questions and gaining valuable insights from local CEOs and industry experts who sit on the panels. We offer average of 20 different training topics annually through organizational development trainings, grant writing, nonprofit storytelling, strategic thinking, and we actually have the fundraising school going on right now on another platform. We also offer specialty topics like the 4-part Chat and Chew Lunchtime Learning Series that was created through a meeting with Dr. Kenton and Mr. Wood. It's a 4-part series. Part 3 is on integrity. It's on July 9th if you'd like to join us for that. Our boot camp is another way to interact with industry experts. The full day event has workshops, networking, panel discussions, guest speakers. Our last event pre-COVID was held at FAU, and it was about 120 people that attended the boot camp. And of course, our capacity building initiatives wouldn't be complete without mentioning the annual capacity building grant, which supports the improvement of business operations and organizational infrastructures through project grants of up to $20,000. We award grants to an average of 7 local nonprofits each year. Partnering with us is the Small Business Development Center of South Florida. They're an essential component to the grant. They help grantees to maximize their funding dollars, and they also provide customized business consulting. And last on the screen here is the online capacity building resources page. We actually send out newsletters. We have a page on the CSC training website, which is dedicated to capacity building, that mentions different trainings, local resources, local funding, and different federal grants that are pertinent to these organizations. Those are just a few of the capacity building initiatives. Now I'd like to hand it over to Yolanda Meadows. And Andrew, if you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Roxanne, and good morning, everyone. On an average, CSC offers over 170 in-person and virtual trainings facilitated by a cadre of industry experts to offer our children and family serving providers with the highest quality professional development. These experts facilitate a wide variety of topics in various areas, including trainings that provide continuing education units. CSC departments work collaboratively to identify trainings that are complementary to the programs that CSC funds, which help the provider's staff cultivate and enhance their skills. The CSC training website is user-friendly, it's very easy to navigate, and we offer useful tools such as our 3-month training calendar, detailed community meeting and room rental listings, links to free to low-cost trainings, and timely customer service, technical assistance, and platform support. Next. And now to Nicolette Picardi.
Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Yolanda. So I'm going to be speaking a little bit about the COVID innovations. So as we all know, in March of last year, our world's changed a little bit. We were all forced to go home and work from home. So that meant that our classrooms had to shut down. But we very quickly pivoted with our fearless leader, Adama, who always jumps in and says, no, we can do this, we can do this. So we decided to take a phased approach to this online work because we knew it wasn't something you could just jump in very easily and say, let's just change everything like that. So in March of 2020, we started looking into some online platforms. We decided to use GoToTraining first off because that was something that we'd been using already. And instead of just asking our trainers, please, let's convert everything right away, let's go straight into doing this, we decided we should first of all, survey all our providers and the people who attend our trainings to find out their comfort level, because we did realize not everybody was going to pivot as easily as some to watching trainings online and listening to trainings online. We got great feedback from all our participants. We also surveyed our trainers because we realized that trainers may not be comfortable with this as well. Luckily, we have some incredible trainers who are able to pivot really, really fast and offer some incredible ideas and suggestions for us to do the online work with them. We were able to start hosting our first workshop on April 16th. So we went from March to April very quickly. We were able to transition incredibly fast to get some really great trainers. The first topic that we did was a suicide prevention. We did a grief and loss. I think we did 4 or 5 training topics that month. We also were able to create and put together a training calendar quite quickly because we realized our providers were all at home and they needed some opportunities to do some extra learning. And so we decided to put on some new trainings as well. We provided a telehealth training because we had a lot of our therapists who are now working from home. And we also had a lot of parents who are home and they were having their children doing the online learning. So the online platform was new to a lot of parents as well. So we had a trainer who was very good with teaching parents how to pivot to the e-learning for their children. We also were able to start offering CEUs in October. We successfully were able to manage the CEU process because we had a lot of licensed clinicians who needed the CEUs in order to obtain their licensure. So that proved to be successful. So just for a couple of numbers, In fiscal year 1920, we had 1,118 participants who were in person. By that year, we had over 1,900 people who took our online sessions. This year, we've had 2,600 people who have taken part in our online training sessions. So I think by those numbers, it looked pretty successful. Thank you.
So our next umbrella is the volunteer and civic engagement that we're able to provide through our partnership with Hands on Broward. So for many, many years, Hands on Broward has served as the premier volunteer connecting agency in Broward. They offer a wide variety of programs and services for youth and adults to engage. I think the thing that makes Hands on Broward so unique is not only does it provide opportunities to support local nonprofits, it really promotes opportunity for a deep level civic engagement. Some of the things that they've been able to do since we have been responsive to the pandemic in terms of servicing families and also individuals in needs has been amazing. So the array of services range from large capacity events to literacy events, and then also they play in the financial prosperity and hunger space. Over the years, Hands on Broward has played a critical role when it has come on to crisis response. As we all know, the tragic incident that we had at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas, Hands on Broward was one of the first organizations to activate and start a lot of community-centered healing responses to the trauma, and has been there in that role since that day in regards to a lot of the response to local hurricane and also hurricanes outside of Florida, and just galvanizing local support and volunteer engagement. Some of the highlights include their social media and advocacy days, do-it-yourself DIY volunteering opportunities, especially during COVID, which have allowed people to make masks and other care kits and mail them out. Also of their virtual summer camp program, which was piloted last year to huge success and also being run this year. And they do a lot of support for the Broward Reads campaign for grade level reading. And one of the most notable things is how easily they adapt to requests from providers, as well as CSC for support and volunteer engagement. So we'll move on to the next slide. And finally, this bucket, which again weaves through most of the other buckets that we've discussed today, is our racial equity initiatives. Since 2015, CSC has really been one of the leaders in this space and has brought on some strong partners to help move the work forward. So in addition to trainings and workshops and learning groups, we've also been huge in providing a lot of support for local child and family serving nonprofits that are looking to figure out what is their next step. So this is done in a variety of different ways. The backbone, though, to most of the work is through our Broward Funders for Racial Equity, which is a group of local funders started by CSC and Broward County Human Services Department that really provides the engine to keep the capacity, the racial equity work that we are doing in this county moving forward. So that's the funding source for the groundwater presentations that we do on a quarterly basis, our 2-day racial equity workshops that we do monthly, as well as a myriad of different special events that we've done over the course of the past 5 years. Second to that, we have our Broward Partners for Racial Equity, and this space and group provides an opportunity on a quarterly and monthly basis, depending on the needs, for organizations that have taken part in our racial equity initiatives to come back really and get to learn and grow, share, problem solve, and move to the next level within their organization. We really have learned a lot about the way that the capacity building in relation to racial equity and social justice needs to be supported through this group. In addition to that, we host, like I mentioned, the groundwater presentation, which is a data-rich 2 to 4 hour presentation made by the Racial Equity Institute that walks us across several systems and institutions and shows us how the race-based disparities show up. And then we also provide the 2-day racial equity, which I think most of our staff and thousands of members within our local community have gone through, that does a history walk, a national history walk of race, and the way that systems and institutions support race and racism. Under this bucket, we provided opportunity for youth-focused racial equity initiatives. We've had a very strong partnership with the Broward County Public School Systems, most notably with Boyd Anderson High School, which has graduated several youth through the programs. Since their first summer, engaging in the youth-focused racial equity groups, the principal and staff saw the importance and actually founded a subgroup of their student government association specifically focused on racial equity. We also do a lot of support and work in partnership with the Bridge to Life youth program. And last year, they started their first racial equity and social justice task force, which meets on a monthly basis. They've done a phenomenal job interviewing a lot of local leaders and getting their perspective on youth positioning within the racial equity and social justice movements. We support learning and affinity groups. So graduates of the two-day racial equity workshop get to meet on a monthly basis through our White Caucus, our Latino Caucus, our People of Color Caucus, and those three caucuses roll up into a joint caucus, which meets quarterly. Through those groups, we've been able to do a wide variety of special events. We brought down guest speakers and authors, Centoria Long Brown, through the work of Dr. Keisha Gray in CSC, who shared her perspective on human trafficking from a race-based perspective, as well as Dr. Paul Ortiz. And we continue to kind of build on those special events. And it creates opportunities for a variety of ways to engage our community in racial equity work. And lastly, but most importantly, our CEOs for Racial Equity Group. So after the untimely murder of George Floyd, the nonprofit Executive Alliance, as well as CSC through Cindy, got a lot of calls for support in terms of how different nonprofits could help move the needle on the racial equity work that they have been doing. So we engage over 30 plus local nonprofit CEOs in a learning community. And 2 weeks ago, they actually started their first learnings and funded by the United Way. So we can advance to the next slide. In addition, CSC has been tapped on the shoulder to be a representative for the Southern Policy and Practice Networks, Florida group, as well as a member of a 6-state group. We've participated in community participatory action research led by CSC, centered in race equity. We are members of the racial equity, the BSO Social Justice Task Force. And we also are members, as Cindy mentioned earlier, of the Broward Educational Research Alliance, which is going out for that Kellogg Grant. So now I'll turn it over to Nicolette to give us a little bit more detail on some statistics.
So since 2015, we have been doing these workshops. Over 2,600 people have attended either the Undoing Racism 3-day workshop or the 2-day REI workshop. Over 300 youth have attended the 2-day workshop, with another session slated for July 2021. In the fiscal year of 1920, we had 258 attendees took part in the groundwater presentation. Those were live presentations. And pre-pandemic, we had 5 in-person live 2-day racial REI workshops were held. And so this fiscal year, we've had 7 virtual 2-day workshops. They were incredibly successful. Being online, you wouldn't think that they would be, but we've managed to hold 7, and they've been very, very widely populated. We've had a total of 212 attendees connected to funding partners, including United Way, Broward College, and the Urban League. CSC has hosted its first REI Phase 2 workshop for 21 attendees last April.
Next slide. So now we're going to share a bit of a unique perspective. Over the years, we've seen the direct impact of the work that CSC has done by providing capacity building, agency capacity building committee support, as well as our trainings. But something unique that we've kind of realized over the past 2 years is that we've had a great impact on creating a network of providers outside of the ones directly paid by CSC. So today we have Stephen Ferrante, principal at Group Victory, here to give us a little bit of perspective on some of the work that he's done with the awardees of our capacity building grant. So Stephen, if you're on.
Good morning, everyone. So thank you for your attention to this. And let me just stress before I get started how important it is and how vital it is that the Children's Services Council is investing in this capacity building work. In my work over 30 years in human services in South Florida, you come in contact with so many nonprofits, and through these grants I've worked with small to mid-sized nonprofits, and they're very strong on mission and cause passion, but they're missing that infrastructure that's going to help them be efficient and effective in actually fulfilling their mission, and even providing the programs and services that they often seek funding for. Some areas that have consistently been those in which I've provided support to organizations have included board governance, both on the membership side, on developing board infrastructure, board manuals, applications, job descriptions, expectation documents, and then the professional training of actual board members so that they understand their role and know how to be successful individually and collectively as a board. Strategic planning, because many organizations that I've worked with have been very responsive, but not intentional with a strong purpose or direction forward. Helping organization with program guides and operation manuals, helping them with employee and human resource manuals and workbooks as well. So really, what are all the administrative aspects, and having good documentation and work processes and workflows to actually get your work done. And in this particular area of children and family services, I've worked with organizations in a number of different and differing program areas as well. So it hasn't just been one specific area. The last thing I think I'll just point out to you, you know, we all know about the pandemic and its impact, but in doing this work over the last about 5 years, some of the agencies I've worked with have gone into crisis, and it hasn't been around a pandemic, and really had nothing in place. And it could have actually meant that they would have completely disappeared. So the ability to actually help them not only resolve whatever crisis they were going through, but come out stronger and more resilient and have the tools for the future. And that's really been the focus of this work, to help organizations not just build the capacity, but to know how to do this on their own thereafter. And I think the last thing that I'll say is all of this really ends up translating out on outcomes for children and for families. So not just helping programs and services be more impactful because now they have the backbone and administrative infrastructure they didn't, but also us seeing it with family and child well-being. So thank you again for the investment that you're making here. It's so critical.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Yes, and I think you summed it up. I mean, through this work, we've just seen on individual and organizational levels, the growth and development of people, specifically related to the commitment that CSC has made to capacity building, seeing people be able to go out and venture into capital campaigns, seeing staff go through training series and advance within their organization, some going on to becoming leaders of organizations. So the impact has just been huge. And I think our focus on racial equity and the focus on balancing and creating opportunities for marginalized groups has really helped to deepen and strengthen what we're doing. So again, as I started, I want to thank you all for the opportunity. We're just really hitting the mark with this, and we're looking forward to seeing where it's going to go with your support. And we open up for questions from the council.
Thank you so much. And Stephen, you know, as you all were talking, I'm thinking how many of these trainings we could possibly offer our YSO young adults. So maybe we could have that conversation at our next meeting Tuesday. Any questions? Okay, no questions. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you, everyone.
So behind tab 1, all your FYIs, Jeffrey.
Just want to make a comment. Thank you guys for that presentation. And I wanted to say to my fellow council members, thank you for your continued support of the Capacity Building Committee.
Yes, thank you. So now we just need a motion to adjourn. Oh, yes, Donna, I'm sorry.
I just wanted to share that I know we had the legislative update earlier, and I know water safety is one of the key factors that we really have a focus on, and that in Senate Bill 1028, there was a provision added specifically for water safety and the role that public schools have to play in providing information specifically for water safety courses and swimming lessons in the 2022-2023 school year. So at the last, I guess it was 2 workshops ago for the school board, I had asked that during this summer session, as our students were coming back, that be information we provide for our students in the summer session, because obviously we're going to start seeing swim lessons and everything that were really curtailed during COVID. But I just wanted to mention that I was encouraged because that now is part of the Senate Bill 1028. Thank you.
Thank you, Donna. I agree. That is very exciting. So Maria motions. Do I have a second? Donna second. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Everybody have a great day.
Aye. Okay.
Oh, yes, and a great summer.